My name is John Judd. I'm the plant manager at Rocky Mountain Engine Plant, and I want to welcome everybody to the 119th year. Does anybody remember the first year? David said he remembers. I'd like to just go through a series of introductions, and I would just like to start with, is there any elected officials or representation of elected officials? Please stand. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Is there any first responders and law enforcement? Please stand at this time. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. I would also like to take this time to congratulate Dr. Valerie Bridges, which was awarded the State Superintendent of the Year, and I would also like to congratulate Dorsey Tobias for the C-Suite Award winner. If both of you are here, would you please stand? But everybody else, please give them a round of applause. As we go through this event, I'd like to start with recognizing the Rocky Mountain Chamber staff and the volunteers for putting this event together tonight. So if you could just give them a round of applause as well. Thank you. We would also like to thank our Nash Community College host sponsor, and also a special thank you to Linda Snell for the work that she does here. Please. And we'd also like to thank Rocky Mountain Mills for the presenting sponsor. Thank you for all you do for our community. Now, I know each of us have a program in front of us, and you do not want me to stand up here and call out each of them, so I'd like to just congratulate and thank each person that's on this pamphlet, and if you would, just give them a round of applause as well tonight. And then finally, is there any past chairmen in the room? Past chairs from the chamber, if you would just stand up for me. Don't be shy. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask Don Williams and Sam Johnson to come to the stage. They will present a special tribute for the memory of Sherry Johnson. Thank you. Other side.
If you attended this same event, the same annual chamber meeting 10 years ago, you would have seen a very stylish and fashionable young blonde lady walking through the room. She'd be checking on everything, and she'd be checking everyone. Her name was Sherry Johnson, and she literally was the heart and soul of this chamber. That's because Sherry served on the chamber staff for 32 years, and during that time, she wore every hat and handled every function that the chamber ever had. She retired as our chamber's Chief Operating Officer in 2012.
For those of us who were fortunate enough to have worked one-on-one with Sherry, we recognized that she had a firm grip on whatever she handled. She was always prepared, especially in the early days when the boards she served were primarily composed of men, businessmen. She was always more buttoned down than almost any of us and always on top of things.
Sherry created and made lasting contributions not only to the chamber but to our entire region. Without her, there would have been no annual Rocky Mountain Chamber Business Expo. During the 1990s and early 2000s, it was the largest exhibition of business products and services in eastern North Carolina, and it drew thousands in attendance every year.
So in that same light, working hand in glove with the late Mayo body, Sherry and Mayo launched a special council of the chamber, which was named the Northeastern Entrepreneurial Roundtable. We came to know it as NEAR. NEAR was formed, its mission was to inspire, to encourage, foster, and recognize the entrepreneurial spirit which existed in Edgecombe, Nash, Wilson, Halifax, and Northampton counties.
Beginning in 1995 and continuing for the next 21 years, the NEAR Advisory Board would meet to select candidates to compete in its Entrepreneur of the Year award. Sherry Johnson did much of the behind-the-scenes coordination of this nomination and selection process. Sherry would then travel with Mayo and a team of advisory board members to interview the nominated candidates. During that time, 276 entrepreneurs from the 5 counties were nominated. 110 were actually involved in the competition, and 22 won this coveted award.
We asked for time on the program tonight because we could think of no better venue than the Chamber Annual Meeting Banquet as a great venue for recognizing, saluting, and saying thank you to a special person who made a lasting impression and impact on the Chamber and has helped make it the success that it is today. So tonight, I say here's to Haji Sharon Alsbrook Johnson, Sherry. We lift our glass to her in great admiration and thanks for all she did for us. I'm happy to see in the audience tonight Sherry's daughter, Shannon Johnson Haynes from Arlington, Virginia, her son Brian Johnson from Raleigh, and her brother Bob Alsbrook of Rocky Mount, and Aunt Ruby's Peanuts fame. Aunt Ruby's actually being named for Sherry's beloved mother, Ruby Sharon Alsbrook. Would you all please stand? Well, sorry, the Alsbrook family. Would members of Sherry's family stand? And thanks to all the rest of you who follow instructions so well. So, all right, thank you, Sherry's family, for sharing her with us for 32 years, and thank all of you for following instructions.
Thank you.
Okay, it's now my pleasure to introduce Jean Kitchen to the stage for the introduction of our 2021 Distinguished Citizen of the Year Award.
Hey, would I see you? Good evening, everybody. Few people in the world can be known by one name. We think of Gaga, Bono, Springsteen, and for you older people, Cher. Our Distinguished Citizen of the Year for 2021 is such a person. In our community, if you say Haywood, people smile. And I am profoundly and proudly one of them since I met him in 1990. For this wonderful, multi-talented man has had a broad and enriching influence on our community for decades. He is the faith leader with his lovely and accomplished wife, Wanda Parker, at their church, Truth Tabernacle, that he and his family started almost 42 years ago. He is the leader of the South Rocky Mountain Collaborative of Churches. He is a taskmaster and inspiration for aerobics classes at the Harrison Family YMCA, and my hard-body friends brag about being in his class, and y'all know who you are. Plus, he is a great role model in fitness in general. He's an avid cyclist who rides with a local group up to 70 miles in one outing. I'm sure he would welcome any of you who want to join that group. He has inspired young minds at North Carolina Wesleyan College as a professor of religion and ethics, sharing wisdom from his divinity degree and from his doctorate. He has served the Tar River United Way as the board chair 3 times and currently chairs the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. When chairing meetings of the United Way, he is known for ending the meetings by saying, "Are all hearts and minds clear?" We would all do well and pause and avail that opportunity to others. As a member of the Executive Committee of the Rocky Mount Chamber Board of Directors, he's the chair of the Minority Economic Development Committee. When asked to create that committee 15 months ago, Haywood embraced it with a signature all-in commitment. The strong and talented group he has assembled has already left its lasting imprint on existing and new businesses, and as in all of his efforts, he's been a visionary, collaborative, and tireless in helping others. Only a man who has a heart for others would have so many ways in which he's led a life that truly touches and enriches the lives of others. He wants every single one of us to lead healthy, educated, faith-based, and driven and self-sufficient lives, and he leads by example. He has many academic degrees, but from what I've seen, the title that he's always excelled in is Dad. I thought that he had the biggest soft spot ever for his daughters until he started telling me about his grandsons, Malcolm and Samuel, whom his daughter Stephanie and her husband Rashid have in Winston-Salem. His wonderful daughter Shalana is the Director of Administration and Marketing for OIC here in Rocky Mount. Shalana shared with me one of her fondest memories of her father is of seeing and hearing him at the altar of his church every morning at 6:30 a.m. His sister, Lois McNeil, shared information with me about his secret weapon, his mother, Rosa Parker Gaynor. She believed that before doing anything, one needs to pray about it. Truth Tabernacle Church was birthed through prayer in May of 1980, when Haywood's first daughter was only 1 month old. Haywood had the great wisdom to put his mother in charge of the prayer pillar of the church, and also to name her an associate minister. Haywood is one of 7 siblings, and they all have roles in the church and support it with their time and talent. The first location for the church was Howard Street in downtown Rocky Mount. For a while, there was a plan to build a new church on 64 Business, but Bishop Parker decided that Truth Tabernacle needed to remain on Arlington Street, in the heart of the community in which it could have a greater impact. One of the many reasons Haywood is so accomplished is that he is really, really smart. Even his siblings admit it. He was in the National Honor Society at Rocky Mount Senior High, from which he graduated before he went to North Carolina State. And she shared with me that he was even chosen to go to the state championship typing competition representing our school. If you've ever wondered why he's always the best dressed man in the room, and I see tonight is no exception, it is because his first job was in sales at Belt Tyler, where men's polyester suits were his specialty. Nonetheless, he has never forgotten how to look like he is ready to appear on the cover of GQ magazine at any given time. Fortunately for all of us, he's still young, so Rocky Mount can look forward to many, many more years of benefiting from his being among us and sharing his talents and his love for all God's creatures. I would like right now to ask Haywood Parker, Dr. Haywood Parker, the Rocky Mount Chamber's 2021 Distinguished Citizen of the Year, to join us on the stage.
Haywood, I'm sure you do have some things to say, but when Mary Ann and I visited your church this past Sunday, and it was an amazing experience, and we were so fortunate to be there. One of the members of your congregation suggested that we perhaps gift you with a clock. I won't say why, but we would like you, come on over here, to accept this. It's engraved Distinguished Citizen of the Year 2021, presented to Dr. Haywood Parker. Thank you for all you do.
All right, is it me now?
Yeah, you want to say something?
Okay.
You got plenty of time.
Good evening. Thank you, Gene. I'm appreciative for this moment. A little tearful right now, so I'm trying to collect my emotions. But I am grateful for this moment and this time. I do want to thank Jean for that tremendous introduction. You did your homework. I had forgotten about the polyester pants. But coming from the tobacco field to go to polyester pants at Belt Towers, that was wonderful, right? We didn't quite have polyester pants in the tobacco field, right? And to David Ferris, whom I have utmost respect and admiration for, and for your heart towards the betterment of Rocky Mount, and to our awesome chamber board chair, John Judd, and the work that you do here, and the entire board of directors of the chamber. I don't know why David gave me the clock. He told me I had 35 minutes. And I have reduced it to 30. So you get back 5 minutes. No, but seriously, often when I am called on to share any of my thoughts, my first place of reference is my place of familiarity with the sayings of Jesus. And Jesus said something that I think is relevant to the times. In this world, you shall have tribulations, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. No, this is not a sermon. But this is a loaded statement that expresses the reality of the dual nature of life in the world in which we live. We have to coexist with tribulations and hope. On one hand, we are challenged to find the appropriate response to living in a world that has perpetual tribulations of systemic oppression, multiple manifestations of inequities and disparities, and social injustices. On the other hand, we have hope. And we must use that hope to find the appropriate response to tribulations. The world witnessed on Sunday night a horrendous and inappropriate response to a perceived tribulation at the Oscars. Tribulations do not give any of us permission to slap our brothers or sisters, whether that slap is a literal physical slap or whether it is rooted in some symbolic gesture of the misuse of power or the abuse of privilege. Desmond Tutu, the South African bishop, would suggest that tribulations must give rise to a hope that will cause light to shine despite the darkness. We must find a way for tribulations to give way to reconciliation. We must find a way to use the hope of the power of our voice, the hope of our vision of a better world and a better community, and the hope of love to be the dominant forces that will allow us to advocate for justice, to act peacefully in danger, and to take actions that will facilitate change. I am indeed humbled and grateful to be recognized by the Chamber as one of the distinguished citizens. And since we can only honor one person at a time in the process, we call it the distinguished citizen. But you know, and I know, that we cannot be properly distinguished in isolation. For it does take a whole village to raise a child. It is necessary for the Chamber, the United Way, the City Council, the Down East Partnership for Children, the OIC, the Boys and Girls Club, the Truth Tabernacle Ministries of Rocky Mount, and all faith-based and neighborhood-based organizations to dance together to uplift our city and to change the world. So thanks be to the God who has given us hope. I'm grateful to my beautiful wife who loves and supports me, and I love and support her. As Jean mentioned, my beautiful family that I am just elated over. I don't know how you be elated over your daughters all the time. And to the organizations that have given me opportunity for engagement in community. And to my native city of Rocky Mount for the privilege to work collaboratively in multiplicity to minimize the pain and the force of the tribulations while maximizing and lifting up the hope that we don't have to slap each other. We have to allow love to create a higher and a better way. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to partner with all of you in this dance to create a better city. God bless you.
Thank you, Haywood, and thank you for all you do for our community to make it a better place for each and every one of us and for future generations. It's now my pleasure to ask Eric Evans to step forward for our invocation.
First, let me say congratulations, Dr. Parker. It's very well deserved. When I first came to work here in this region about 25 years ago, we met many years ago. You've always been very kind and encouraging to me, and I thank you for that. Congratulations. For those of you who would like to join me in prayer, let's bow in prayer if we could. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much, Lord, for the blessing of this beautiful day. We thank you, Lord, for your grace that allows us to gather here tonight. Father, we humbly pray, Lord, that you will give us wisdom and strength to do the work that I believe that you have called us to do. Father, there are many challenges that are before us, but we know, Lord, that your strength is greater. Father, we ask that you bless every person that's here tonight and the families that they represent. Lord, we are grateful for the food that's been prepared for us. Let it be nourishment to our bodies and our bodies in service to you. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you.
My name is Kenneth Hunter. I am with the city of Rocky Mount, and David has asked me tonight to share with you an economic year in review of the Rocky Mount region in 2021. As we know, the COVID pandemic created a lot of challenges from an economic perspective at the global, national, and local levels. The businesses and the individuals of Rocky Mount rose to the challenge and sustained the impacts that occurred in 2020 and accomplished significant rebounds and recovery in 2021. And I am here to say that Rocky Mount region is on the right track as we head into 2022. The first area that we have pride to take in is with respect to our employment growth. Obviously, we saw that there were significant losses of jobs during 2020, but in 2021, Rocky Mount businesses, entrepreneurs, and individuals were able to create over 2,800 jobs for local residents throughout the city as well as in Nash and Edgecombe counties. This is an amazing accomplishment that all of y'all should take appreciation and thanks for your work in helping to create these jobs. And that helped lead us to an end-of-year unemployment rate of 5.1%, which is a very strong rate to go as we head into the next year. It's also important to recognize where these jobs were created. The work of the Carolinas Gateway Partnership, the Rocky Mount Chamber of Commerce, as well as other organizations, including Nash Economic Development, has been significant in helping to grow businesses throughout our region. We gained over 1,500 new jobs in the areas of trade and logistics. And we recognize that a lot of that is due to many projects, especially the Carolina Connector. We were also able to rebound with over 300 new jobs in hospitality and over 200 new jobs in manufacturing. This helps to explain another part of our success is that business creation is booming throughout the region. Overall in North Carolina, over 170,000 new businesses were created in 2021. And that was a significant increase above 2020, but also a marketed increase over pre-pandemic levels. In 2020, the Rocky Mount region saw 1,740 new businesses. Some of you all are here tonight, and give yourself a round of applause because I know some of you are active chamber members and are heavily involved in our community. While final numbers are not available for 2021, we realize based on trends that over 2,000 new businesses will be created in 2021. So we continue to see this growth, and we continue to look forward to seeing new signs on the roads, new ribbon cuttings, and obviously, David, new chamber members coming forward as well. Part of this business growth is in our industrial sectors. And again, the work of the Carolinas Gateway Partnership cannot be ignored, as well as the work by Nash County Economic Development, with many great projects that have happened as well as that are happening, including, as you can see pictured, the Carolina Connector Project, which opened this fall. In 2021, we saw over $250 million of combined industrial development that created over 500 jobs in various industries. But it's especially important to recognize what these organizations are working on now. They are currently working on active projects that, if they were all successful, we can only hope and pray so, would represent over $18.4 million of development, an additional 20,000 jobs for our region. So we certainly appreciate the work that these organizations do, and we thank them for their continued service. Of course, what's important for many of you as business owners is your sales activity. And what I can say is that based on the information we have available, sales are soaring. We are noticing significant economic pickup in our region, and this is to build upon the fact that sales did not go down significantly during the COVID pandemic. But what we are excited to say is that based on gross collections of taxes, retail sales in the Rocky Mount metropolitan area increased 12% during 2021. And we expect to see continued growth in the coming year. And I want to finish off, of course, with everybody's favorite topic, or perhaps least favorite topic, and that's real estate. And obviously, Rocky Mount's market is red hot. We remain a valuable and affordable destination for people from all across the country, including those that are looking to find housing near the Triangle region. And that has led to significant growth in our real estate market. Overall increase in average sales prices have gone up 23% in 2021. That is a significant increase. And yet, we still remain an affordable region. But what's even more special is just that in the past 3 months of this current year, sales have increased, average sale prices have increased by an additional 16%. At the same time, we recognize that for many of you, in fact, if you have sold a home, you notice it's gone pretty quickly, the average days on market have been decreased by half just in the past year. So the work that we are doing, that we're seeing our realtors do, that our banks are doing, is significant to the continued growth and prosperity of our region. And there's a lot to look forward to as we go into 2022. Currently, we are seeing a lot of continued growth and development activity in housing. This past year, over 600 new homes were built throughout the region. And we congratulate all the builders as well as the developers, as well as our city and county planning departments for their work. This level of construction was more than 3 times the level of construction that we saw in 2021. And combined, these homes had a value greater than $105 million. Which provides additional wealth as well, and I'll admit I'm a government person, we're happy about this, additional assessed value that we can use to fund the services and priorities that we have as local governments here in the Rocky Mount region. So I thank you very much for your time and attention, and I will say that we're on the right track for 2021, and we look forward to great things in 2022. Thank you.
How about all those ribbon cuttings on there? Pretty good, huh? I think we did 38 last year. I'm Sam Bass. I'm the Membership Director of the Rocky Mount Chamber. I'd like to take a few minutes to speak about the status and goals of our membership. Let there be light. 2021 was a really challenging year for a lot of reasons. Everybody knows that. Despite that, we had a very successful year at the Chamber. We were able to recruit 122 new members last year. We're also proud of the fact that of the 122 members, 63% were a minority in this area. This resulted in a net growth of 88 members. We ended up with 715 members for 2021. So far this year, we have added 41 additional members, and we're still maintaining over 60% membership represented by people of color and women. we have really strived to be all-inclusive. This type of growth reflects a healthy Rocky Mount entire business community. We're also proud of the fact that this is the third straight year the Rocky Mount Area Chamber of Commerce has been in the top, ranked number 5 in the top 25 chambers in the Triangle Business Journal's capital area chambers. Third straight year. Only behind Raleigh, Cary, Durham, and Chapel Hill, Carborough. We're also one of only 3 chambers that actually added membership in that period. Everybody else dropped a bunch during the pandemic time. Our main goals for 2022 are to maintain the current membership levels. We also want to overtake Chapel Hill, Carborough in that 4th place spot. And want to take this membership level to 800 plus new members and maintain the inclusiveness of our business community. In closing, I'd like to thank the people that have supported our mission and personally mention the team at the Chamber. I'd like to thank President and CEO David Ferris for the opportunity to do this job that I really love every day. Our Executive Assistant Olivia Smith, Marketing Director Sheila Lowe, our Economic Development Director Mr. Alan Matthews, and finally, our Finance Director, Beverly O'Berry. Without this great team, my job would be a lot more difficult. And I also want to give special thanks to my membership committee, who is chaired by my good friend Christina Beasley back there. They really had a lot of great input this year to help grow the membership of the Chamber, and I really appreciate it. And also, our great ambassadors. Our ambassadors have really helped me and helped the growth of the Chamber, helped with these events, things like this. So I really want to thank them too. I also want to say, if anybody in this room is not a member of this Chamber, or you know somebody that's not a member, you need to have them get in touch with me, because they're missing out on a good thing. They really are. So with that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce our chairperson of the ambassadors, Ms. Debra Holmes. She is going to come up and make the presentation for Ambassador of the Year.
Good evening, everyone. I am Debra Holmes. I serve as the board chair on the Rocky Mount Chamber Ambassadors. I have the privilege tonight to present the award for ambassadors for both 2020 and 2021. Our ambassador team works as liaisons for the Chamber, volunteering their time to assist with ribbon cuttings, grand openings, community services, and signature Chamber events like we are hosting tonight. At this time, I would like to recognize them for all of their hard work, dedication, and achievements. Both of our recipients tonight give their all, and we thank them for all they do. As you know, due to the pandemic in 2020, we could not recognize and honor our Ambassador of the Year. It gives me great joy to present the 2020 Ambassador of the Year to Marianne Avery of my sister's house. Marianne, would you please come up? Marianne, I'd like to thank you for everything you do. In 2021, as you all know, we still face challenges with the pandemic. On a good note, it did allow for our ambassadors to gain access to the community and serve our members, though on a smaller scale. I am honored to announce our 2021 Ambassador of the Year, Laurie Krushank. Laurie's very busy. She owns 2 companies, Coffee Mug Travel, Dream Vacations, and does an outstanding job for us here at the Chamber.
Good evening. Before I announce the 2021 President's Award recipient, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank some of the people who've helped us get through the past 2+ years. I want to first start with my wife, Mary Ann. I thank her for her love, support, and encouragement, and it's taken a lot of that over the last 2+ years, and I don't know that I would have gotten through it without it. I have an amazing staff. Olivia Smith, who most of you know, her growth as our executive assistant has allowed me to be a stronger leader and advocate for our business community. Sheila Lowe, her addition to our staff in marketing has already begun to pay dividends and have a positive impact. It is a true blessing to have her as part of our team and see her smile each and every morning. Alan Matthews. Alan's a great and tireless economic developer. Alan has been with the Chamber over 20 years, and I dare say there are not many people in this auditorium tonight that can say that. Alan strives as our economic developer each day to add to our business community, and we thank him. He strives to make this a better community for all of us. Sam Bass. Sam, like Alan, is a long associate and friend of mine. Sam is a willing team player and has done simply an amazing job helping to grow our chamber and helping our members grow their business. Beverly O'Berry, our finance director, is my financial compass and sounding board. She's one amazing lady. I want to thank our board of directors, headed by our chairman, John Judd. Under John's leadership, assisted by an incredible board that have worked to make our chamber successful during one of the most challenging times as we've all navigated the turbulent waters of the pandemic. As a result of all of the above, your chamber is coming out of this pandemic a much stronger, effective, and focused organization, and I thank each and every one of you. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the 2021 President's Award recipient. This year's honoree can generally be found at the forefront of most any activity that needs assistance regarding the chamber, or for that matter, numerous church, school, and other nonprofits as well, always willing to give whatever is needed. This individual works tirelessly managing a business that's well known to most all of us in this room. She has a deep faith in God, loves and enjoys family, and when she's in 100%, and she expects no less from you. The individual serves on our board, our executive committee. She chairs our small business committee. She's pulled in more directions than an octopus has legs. Always smiles. Our staff, including today, needed her last-minute assistance, and as always, she comes through. She's a true blessing to anyone who knows her. This past July, we were able to have our first in-person event in 17+ months. Under Aaron Gall's leadership, attention to detail, working in this very auditorium until everything was ready and up to her specifications and satisfaction. Aaron left the event she chaired in perfect order, an event that went flawlessly, I might add. not to go home and get ready like some of us did this afternoon. No, she went to Chapel Hill and brought her mother back from the hospital. Erin Gall is a true leader dedicated to God, family, and her community. Thank you, Erin. Now please join me in honoring and welcoming Erin Gall as she joins us. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Lee Isley, CEO of our own Nash UNC Health Center. Dr. Isley will introduce our keynote speaker. Lee?
Good evening. I am pleased to be introducing Dr. Wesley Burks as our keynote speaker this evening. Dr. Burks has served as CEO of UNC Health, Dean of the UNC School of Medicine, and Vice Chancellor for Medical Affairs for UNC Chapel Hill since January of 2019. He has worked to create a unified culture that enables UNC Health and the UNC School of Medicine to lead in research, education, patient experience, quality, and what he likes to call healthy-based care. As CEO, he is proud to work alongside 40,000 teammates across North Carolina, focused on keeping patients and communities healthy. In his position as dean, he is proud to work with educators and researchers to train future physicians and support researchers in developing life-changing treatments and cures. Prior to his role as CEO and dean, Dr. Burke spent 30 years caring for children and families, conducting research and educating trainees and leading, including time as physician-in-chief of the North Carolina Children's Hospital and executive dean of the UNC School of Medicine. His background in rural health care has shaped his approach to understanding the nuances of communities like ours. Nash UNC Healthcare is an affiliate of UNC Healthcare. We are a local hospital authority governed by a local board of commissioners and led by a local team of leaders. As an affiliate of UNC Health System, we are able to tap into resources and expertise of UNC's academic medical facility to collaborate with our peers and specialty physicians across the state and at UNC, all allowing us to deliver exceptional health care right here in our community. We're proud to be part of the UNC Health System, and I'm pleased to introduce to you its leader, Dr. Wesley Burks.
So thank you, Lee, for that nice introduction, and I would like to thank Lee for the opportunity to be here with you. Also thank Dorsey Tobias for her help in preparing me for the evening, and most importantly, my teammates that are here from Nash UNC Healthcare. I'm here in large part to honor them for the work they've done for a long time, but especially over the last 24 months, so thank you sincerely. As Lee alluded to, I've been the CEO of UNC Health and the Dean of the School of Medicine, which are really a combined role, for the last 3 years. I can tell you that it has seemed like 30 years for what we've all been through during that time frame. I've been at UNC, as Lee described, for about a decade. Prior to that, my wife and I have been in North Carolina for about 20 years, so that other decade I was at that other healthcare system in Durham that remains unnamed. My wife and I are from Arkansas. I worked at a children's hospital there for the 20 years before we moved to North Carolina. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. Both of my parents were teachers. My father was a college professor. My mother was an elementary school teacher. Both sets of my grandparents lived in rural areas in the hills of the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas. My earliest memories of health care are around one of my sets of grandparents in a small town. They lived 10 miles out in the country from a small town, and there was one physician in the county, and that was 50 years ago, no hospital. So the lessons I learned then about access to care have stayed with me through all the various things I've done since then. Going to medical school, I really thought I would go back to the town where I grew up to be a family doctor. Somewhere along the way I got lost and went into pediatrics. And in that journey, I decided to do a specialty in allergy and immunology, and that's what I did for a long time. But in my early part of my training, I met a young girl named Shelley. And Shelley and her family had come to see the physician that I trained with because she had eczema, or severe atopic dermatitis. And for those of you that don't know, it's a red, scaly, itchy rash. Her skin looked like she had scalded skin. She had flaking in her scalp, her skin all over, literally to the soles of her feet. It itches a lot. She scratched all the time. Even she wasn't sleeping, she was scratching so much. And her family had come from New York to North Carolina to see the physician that I worked with. And in that encounter with Shelley and her family, I learned the right medication to give her, the right ointments and creams, the pills to help her sleep. I learned how to help educate the family on what was going on with her, how to take care of other kids like Shelley. But most importantly, what I caught from the people that I worked with is how to think about a disease broadly, a disease process, not just one patient. And what might I do to change the face of the disease like Shelley had? And so somehow I caught that. And that led me on a 25-year journey. I spent most of my time doing clinical research in children that had allergic disease, and I really liked it. I couldn't imagine even 10 years ago standing here before you in the role that I have right now, but honestly, I can't imagine doing anything else. That's how much enjoyment I get out of it. I want to switch gears and talk about UNC Health. Obviously, I'm proud of the people that I represent, my teammates here. We're proud to be the state's healthcare system. As Lee alluded to, we're 15 hospitals all across the state, from New Bern in the east to Hendersonville in the west, and everywhere in between. I have almost 40,000 people that I work with, 40,000 teammates. Last year, we took care of 3 million people in North Carolina and beyond. Our mission is to promote the health and the well-being of the people of North Carolina. And our strategy that Lee alluded to in the introduction is how can we help people locally provide the highest quality health care as close to home as possible, and when it's not possible, use a system to help provide that care. The access to Lee and my teammates and others have to the people that we work with all across the system, the resources, particularly during the time of COVID, are huge. And the advantages to help keep care, that high quality care, as close to home as we can by the use of that system. As I alluded to early on, the last 2 years have seemed like an eternity, I know, for all of us, both personally as well as professionally. At the beginning of COVID, so March of that year, then we sat down and talked about how do we approach this unknown process, this unknown disease coming to our communities in Chapel Hill and Durham and all across the state. And what we decided at that point was that we would have two guiding principles that dictated everything that we did. How do we take the best care of patients that had COVID as they came in? And how do we take care of each other? And literally everything that my teammates here and others have done have been guided by those two principles for the last 24 months. There are so many milestones that have happened, so many stories that we all could fill up hours telling you about the good, the amazing, the oh my gosh stories that have happened literally every day in that time frame. Milestones for us as a system, we've done over 750,000 COVID tests. In 26 months, 26 months ago, nobody had heard the word COVID. We've given almost over 500,000 vaccinations for COVID. And recently, we've given over 11,000 monoclonal antibody treatments to people that had COVID to keep them out of the hospital. I don't know about each one of you, but certainly the time frame of when things happened, we lost a lot of milestones. I know our family did in our life about when things happened. And so when we talk at work and at home, it's probably early COVID or the middle of COVID, or I'm hopeful it's kind of toward the end of COVID, but I can't tell you what month it happened, or I can't tell you what day. And probably 3 years ago, I could have gotten closer to that. So there are a lot of things that happened during each of those time frames for us, for all of us in healthcare, specifically at UNC Health. But one early on I want to share with you was around the personal protective equipment. Probably most of you had never heard that word more than 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden it became like people talked about it a lot. Well, the PPE that we talked about, when we started the pandemic, then we had months and months and months of supply, particularly when we talk about masks. The supply chain came from China, that cut off quickly, and so we had to find a way to get the masks that we needed. The supply chain that we had wasn't going to be replenished easily. In Chapel Hill alone at the medical center, we were going through using 10,000 masks a day. Quickly, within a few weeks of COVID starting, we were down to about a 10-day supply. And if you can think back then, like the unknowns about the disease, how contagious it was, we had to wear them at work. They were taking care of people with COVID to protect yourself and then protect others that you worked with and protect your family. That mask that prior to COVID cost 66 a mask. Within a few weeks, it cost $6 a mask. And as we go forward, not that long, it cost $8 to $9 a mask. And we're using 10,000 a day in Chapel Hill and beyond, like they did here. At any point in time, we had 500 leads we were actively working on across the country. You really couldn't go international at that point to identify getting tens or hundreds, thousands, or millions of masks at a time. One day I had the opportunity to write a check for $30 million to try to buy 5 million masks. And we thought we bought it, and then somebody else outbid us the night before. That was a pretty regular occurrence. We had 25 people working full-time just to find masks that we could possibly buy. We sent people in airports across the country. They'd go there to the warehouse. The masks were supposed to be there, and somebody had taken them. We had been outbid. We had masks flown in to RDU, and they were in the airport. And we would go out there the next morning, and they were gone. Somebody had outbid us. That was a routine occurrence for the first several months. Fortunately, the people of North Carolina, the textile industry, those at NC State and others stepped in, and they started making masks. And we can use those masks. We can use them now. The supply chain is not a problem, but it was a huge issue early on. As we go forward in the pandemic of things that we saw in healthcare, we quickly could see the health inequities that were happening depending on where you lived and the person that you were. It was apparent in healthcare before. It really became apparent in the early to middle part of COVID. And so what we as a group of individuals got together, and we have to do something different. And so we started our initiative called Cover NC to make sure we were taking the testing, the vaccinations, the treatment to the people of North Carolina that couldn't get treatment without our helping them. So we outfitted a mobile van, a big mobile van that went to communities. I went to small rural areas to see people that were getting their testing, to see people that were getting their vaccinations in communities of a few hundred at a time, and they were coming into local churches. But one of the specific things that happened in that program is that a county hospital, a couple of counties east and south of here, as we started the vaccination process, how did people get vaccinated? They got online, they signed up, or you called, and if you called, you had to wait like hours. I got online for my wife to get her vaccination, and I'd get on, and then all the appointments are gone. I'd get on again, and the appointments are gone. And I finally got her an appointment. She went out to Hillsborough from where we lived to get her vaccination. But in this particular location, as people signed up, we realized within a few weeks that almost everyone in that county, so it's 100 miles from Raleigh, was from Raleigh and the Triangle getting vaccinated there. They had access to the computers. They had the wherewithal to get online repeatedly to get an appointment. And so what we were trying to serve, a local community, didn't work. So we quickly readjusted what we did, worked better with local leaders, with church leaders. We actually did robocalling to landlines, like 20,000 at a time. And from that, within a few weeks, we were able to get the care, the treatment, the vaccinations to the local community that represented the local community. It wasn't people from outside the community coming to get treatment. And that's continued throughout this part of the pandemic. And one story locally that happened here at Nash, and I won't embarrass the person by calling her name, but one of the leaders in the infant care unit here at the hospital in this last Omicron peak that was really bigger than any of the other peaks as we walked through it. She quickly realized that with the number of her nurses that were specialized in taking care of the infants, that it wasn't going to be but a few days with that many people out. She could not take care of all the babies that were there. She needed special care to do that. They were going to have to transfer the babies from Nash to other hospitals through the region, which created a lot of problems for mothers and families. Obviously, that was not going to be ideal. And what she did was her colleagues that she'd met through the UNC Health Leadership Academy, she met some colleagues at Rex in Raleigh, and she called one of them, and through a series of discussions and interviews, she quickly had somebody that came to Nash, worked for the better part of a week. You were able to keep the babies here locally, and it worked really well for the families, the hospital, and the people that took care of them. Stories like that happened throughout with our colleagues, the whole system for the last 24 months, people helping each other to provide that care, better care locally while at home. If you'll allow me for just a minute to reflect on kind of backing up on the big picture of COVID as we walk through it, there have been so many things that have happened, as I said, both personally and professionally for each one of us. About 6 weeks ago, I was driving through Chapel Hill to work, and on the way to work, I drive through the UNC campus, and the Arboretum was on the right, and a yellow school bus passed me on the left, which is not an uncommon thing for schools visiting Chapel Hill. But that particular day, I'm not sure why this hit me, but the summer of 1971, so that's older than some of you in the room, hit me. I worked in a school bus factory that made yellow school buses. Literally, that was a big employer in the town that I grew up in. And that summer, I worked really hard. But at the same time, I saw people that had been there their whole lives, that worked way harder than I did. I had a minimal job compared to what they did. They came to work every day. They were proud of the work they did, and their personal integrity came through. So the lessons that I've learned through that, first I learned college is a really good thing for me to go to. But now reflecting back 50 years, the memories I have of it are of the value of hard work, the value of personal integrity. What COVID will be like, the memories that we have of it 50 years, probably most of us in the room won't be here then. There'll be lots of good things that happen, lots of constructive things that happen, things that are confusing now that will be in the rearview mirror much more clear. But certainly from a healthcare standpoint, what we've learned, then I'm very comfortable that going forward, that collectively what we can do with community partners and others, that we're in a good place. We've learned so much that will accelerate the healthcare that we have going forward. People have asked a lot about what healthcare has been like for each one of us. I'm sure they've all been asked this hundreds of times in the last couple of years, not being there. So the personal part that we share with each one of you. The professional part's been hard to describe at times, what it's been like inside the hospital and the healthcare facilities. It's changed each of us in ways that, as I just described, may be hard to describe at times. But there are things that were going on in healthcare, the changes. Many of them were rapidly accelerating during COVID, and they're here to stay. They're not going to go away. And I'll describe a couple of paradigm changes that have happened, and you'll appreciate as we talk about some of the examples. But there's not going to be a, let's go back to what it was like before COVID in healthcare, which is really a good thing. We have collectively, when I say we've made changes that have been paradigm changing that will be good. So the two big paradigm changes I'd talk about, one, and I'm part of the medical, like whatever you want to call it, I was part of this. But the paradigm for 100 years had been, it's built around a hospital and a clinic and a provider, a doctor. That's how healthcare was built. And now it's being built around a person, so it's personal, and a patient. And that's a really different thought process about how you do healthcare. And it's really good. It's going to be good. The second one that I would talk about is, as again Lee alluded to, rather than treating people when they're sick, when they become ill, is how do you help someone become healthy or stay healthy? And again, how you approach healthcare on both of those is really different, and that's the direction that it's going. And those are both really good things. I'll give you a few examples of things that kind of illustrate both points. Then the first one I'd call is the Netflix mentality. So like many of y'all, I learned what Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, whatever else was during the pandemic. I've watched more British mystery TV shows than I ever thought possible in my whole life. But my wife and I watched them when we wanted to. We watched them at the time we wanted to, where we wanted to. It was on an iPad or the Apple TV on the screen. But we did it when we wanted to. We might watch a whole movie. We might watch one show, or we might binge watch a weekend and watch the whole thing, but we did it when we wanted to. Healthcare is increasingly like that. Many of you probably had healthcare virtually during the pandemic. You sat in your office or your home, you didn't go wait, you didn't go drive 45 miles to see someone, and it worked. And that was a good thing. The healthcare that, in that Netflix mentality, you know how much it costs, you know what you're going to get, you know the quality is going to be good. That's what healthcare, that's the direction that people are going. The second couple of examples in how to help provide better healthcare closer to home. The first one I'd talk about is in UNC Health, we started during the pandemic something called acute care at home. This is a hospital at home. So in the triangle right now, if you come to a UNC facility and you need to be hospitalized, not in the intensive care unit, but you're sick enough to be in the hospital, you'll have the choice of going to the hospital or we'll bring the hospital to your home. And so if you choose that, then we have the vans for the emergency medical services. They'll bring the services, the AV equipment, the oxygen, whatever else it is to your home. In Chapel Hill, we have a headquarters. We have doctors and nurses there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And through virtual means, we're able to come into your home. Somebody's there with you. We can start IVs, give you oxygen, give you antibiotics, any type of treatment that you want in your home. You can eat your own food. Your family doesn't have to get in the car to come visit you. They don't have to leave at visiting hours. You don't have people in the middle of the night waking you up with those ding-dong things going off in the hospital. You're in your home, and it works. People are glad to do it for the obvious reasons. The second way the example I would give you is where things are going from the paradigm change is around the huge issue of mental health. You read about it, you likely have extended family, there are issues there. It only rapidly accelerated during COVID, particularly in children and adolescents. You may have seen this in your family or know of others. If an adolescent recently had a mental health crisis, and the only place they had to go was the emergency department, literally they may stay there, not for hours, but for days to weeks waiting for care. That's all across North Carolina, whether you're in the city or the rural areas, it was the same all across. So what we've been able to do within the UNC Health system and our colleagues and others is to be able to bring the right care locally where it's needed virtually. So we have psychiatrists that virtually can take care of the adolescent, do the assessment, work with the emergency physicians that are on hand there, and they can see the psychiatrist in a timely fashion and make a diagnosis, help them decide, can they go home, do they need day treatment, do they need to be hospitalized? It's still a problem if they need to be hospitalized, but we can bring the psychiatrist to them through virtual means, and that will continue around strokes, eventually around intensive care, other areas that then care can be done locally that it couldn't before because it required people to be there. So you'll see that paradigm increasingly over time. As I close, and some may have heard me tell this story before, but I can't not tell it again for some obvious reasons. Healthcare for me is very personal. If any one thing that you can take out of tonight is that it's that for me and for us. It's personal. It's about a relationship with a person, not a patient, but a person, and how we can help them stay healthy or become healthy. But as I said earlier, my grandparents lived in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas. It was 10 miles out from a town of 1,500. When I was born, there was a hospital there. 20 years later, there was no hospital and one doctor in the county. And so I've carried with me now the last 55 years this key. I've showed it before, but this key is to my grandparents' house. I can go and unlock it. Nobody lives there now, but it's still there. It reminds me of them. It reminds me of going there in the summers. It reminds me of the hay being cut, things that I never wanted to do again. There's a lot of good memories there. But it also reminds me, the reason I keep it now is it reminds me of who I am, what I stand for, and what I do. It's so simple. It's there every day. My hope is that for you and your community, as you walk by, as you drive by Nash UNC Healthcare, that same thing happens. It reminds you of the people that work there, people like my teammates here and others that work really hard, that care, that want that relationship with you. And it reminds you of the high quality health care that they provide, and they will increasingly provide through a number of different means, whether they're sitting in the room with you or they're providing access for you to get really high quality health care virtually, or helping you get someplace to get that care. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight. I want to again thank Lee and Dorsey and my teammates for being here. So I've really enjoyed it. So thank you for the evening.
Could I get Mayor Sandy Robinson to come to the stage?
What a wonderful evening it's been, and thank you for those inspirational words. You know, today I want to have the prestigious opportunity to present the city coin for Rocky Mount to Dr. Burks for your more than 30 years of leadership as the Dean of UNC School of Medicine, Vice Chancellor for Medical Affairs, and CEO of UNC Health, as well as your research and allergens and your commitment to doctor training and patient care. We are especially proud of our own Nash UNC hospital team that has distinguished itself with recognition for top performance, substance abuse prevention and support, and unwavering care for this community during COVID. Dr. Burks, thank you very much.
Dr. Parker, I know I got 4 minutes. I'm going to do the best I can to get you out of here. I'd like to close, just say a few words to you. So I'd like to personally thank my wife, Diane, for her support that she continues to give me. She would tell you I got multiple jobs, and I appreciate you. Thank you. I'd like to, my Cummins family that are here, our Chamber Board of Directors and Executive Board, thank you for what you do for the Chamber. Thank you for what you do for the community. Our Chamber staff, and then our membership, thank you for what you do to support the Chamber of Rocky Mount. I thought tonight was amazing. We've all battled through COVID. You've heard personal stories. We all have our personal stories. It was 2 years ago that we all were in this room. I don't know if you recall it, but it was raining and the winds were blowing and many umbrellas flew all over the parking lot. What we did not know at that point, what was going to happen right after that. For those of you in business, which is all of us, supply chain disruptions have just continued to wipe us out over the last couple of years, and it's been devastating for some businesses. But for most of you and all of you, you've battled through it, and will continue to battle through it. Getting people back to work has been a challenge. I went to Chick-fil-A and saw my buddy Bill doing a lot more than an owner of Chick-fil-A would do under these circumstances. So, and many of you have done the same thing. So getting our people in our community back to work has been important. Then I sit here and I think about the record attendance here tonight. Every table full. We see record level chamber membership. Never before have we had this type of numbers in our membership. And as I was doing some reflection on what I would say as we close tonight, I thought about the author, John Maxwell, who stated leadership is more about influence than authority. And then I think about the chamber. The chamber has no authority over any of us. But through influence, our chamber has helped our community grow. So how do we get influence? You heard Dr. Burks talk about influence. You do that by building relationships, doing what you say you're going to do, caring for one another. That's how leaders lead, through influence. The chamber will stay committed to you, the membership. Through our strategic vision, mission, and strong committee work that was recognized here tonight, we will be prosperous. I'm asking each of us to keep pushing forward. I'm asking us not to quit. I'm going to change. I've got 3 dates I want you to write down. I know that it's in your pamphlets. And then we're going to end with the retiring of the colors. First of all, I want you to look at your brochure, April 12th, Leadership Twin Counties program. This year, Dr. Gina Node, Dean of Career Services, Business Innovation, North Carolina Westland, will lead that. April 21st is the Women's Conference. And then February 2nd, 2023, we will be back here in Brown Auditorium for the next Rocky Mount Chamber annual meeting. So with that, we will end with the retiring of the colors. So let's proceed with that.